Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And of course, we are coming to you live from the Frank Walker Law Studio. And just a quick thank you to Brandon, who runs the show at Variety Sports. Chatted with him a little bit this week. He, like myself, he's an educator. He's a football coach, and he's a busy time of year for him. So thanks so much for making sure this stuff is up and running, and really appreciate it. Ian should be joining us fairly soon. You'll see that Mr. Scarpino, or link in bio, is available. Welcome in, everybody. Cliff is in. Burner, Yinzer Gear. Who else is in here? Godfather, I think, is in here as well. So welcome, everybody. And if you're just watching or listening and watching on your own time, glad to have you. And hopefully Ian will be along shortly. But notice how Ben's been gone and the crime in D.C. has gone down. That's a very fair comment, Burner. Very fair. But, you know, every week when he's not here, we always comment that he's at a Dave Matthews concert. Well, tonight, he's at a Dave Matthews concert. Is
it official?
I believe it is, because anytime he says I'm at the Gorge, I'm pretty confident that means he's watching Dave Matthews. So if he's not, he's watching someone else. But be that as it may, he promised he would be here next week for the big season opening kickoff, our big season prediction preview show, and all that stuff. You know it. He'll be ABBA, Yinzer Garrett. You never know. It might be, buddy. It might be. Oh, and Aaron is here. He's just home from his trip to watch Bowling Green State University, and he was there to see Urban Meyer. I assume he got inducted into their Hall of Fame or something. I don't know. Frankly, I don't care, Aaron. We're going to start off on well, let me bring Ian in here first of all.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the show.
Call God.
Yeah. And hey, I'm going to start with a non-Steeler thing because it's obviously been big news, but I know Ian, you have a point to make that does tie into the Steelers here. But Micah Parsons was traded today from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. He goes there, he signs a deal which makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. The Packers send veteran defensive lineman Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks to the Cowboys. Scarpino, who won this trade?
Guess we'll find out. I don't know. You know, Micah Parsons is 26 years old.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, but he's 26. I'm pretty sure Khalil Mack demanded more in a trade, and he was older.
Yeah.
Laramie Tunsil, I think, also had a pretty big trade package involved. This is what happens, though. I mean, the Cowboys are a week away from play, literally a week away.
One week from tonight.
If it were me, I would have traded him in March or during the draft, when there was more uncertainty about the cap and all that stuff. But Kenny Clark, there's a lot of dead cap, no cap, cap, dead cap. Kenny, seems to be like the Packers are getting rid of a guy that they like and respect, but is just making too much money right now, and they don't think really highly of him in the next couple of years, and they're getting a guy who's 26. And I know this is probably blasphemy, but he's arguably one of the best defensive players in the league. And I think he has 50 sacks in 40 games or something like that. The guy's legit. But I'm going to lean Packers right now. but as we know, they always lose in the first round of the playoffs. Oh, my bad. Aaron Rodgers is now our quarterback. Yeah,
Nice.
I think the Packers do win this right now. But time will tell. If Micah Parsons gets hurt or anything like that, we'll look at. But I think this ultimately came down to an ego thing, and
Agreed.
I just think Jerry Jones has the luxury of making this kind of move because they haven't won anything in 30 years. And I know we bitch and moan about it and because we hold ourselves to higher standards, but they haven't even been to a conference title game since 1995. And in that same season, they beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 30. But Jerry just comes across as a guy that just cares about cameras and money, and he gets plenty of both. And this just seems like a move where he's like, my dick is bigger than yours, even though it probably isn't. And it definitely isn't. And when you can't put that aside, these are the things that happen.
Ian, first give us your thoughts on who won the trade, and then I'll ask you to make your point that you were commenting on earlier today regarding TJ.
I'm going to make both points in one because who won the trade is the Pittsburgh Steelers because they paid TJ Watt slightly over what the previous highest paid contract was, which Myles Garrett was at $40 million a year on average. Steelers paid TJ Watt $41 million a year. Micah Parsons got $47 million a year. Like that's 14% above TJ's contract, and TJ's contract made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is what happens, and we've talked about this before, where you get like a couple guys that just try and one up each other a little bit in the salary cap and want to be the highest paid, but then you get some other team who's desperate and does something stupid. And a couple of times it was the Ravens with Joe Flacco and the Browns with Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And I mean, this happened with the 49ers and Bosa for edge rushers too, that they paid him so much more than what the previous high was. I think the high was like 29 or 30 and they gave him 34. Like they went, $4 million above what the previous high was. This is going $6 million above what the previous high was, which is just crazy inflation, right? So the Steelers won this by getting TJ Watt's deal done early. And we've talked about this with regards to the Chris Boswell, Cam Hayward situation as well, that the way the cap is escalating now and the way contracts are going, you're better off extending a guy as soon as you can and getting in front of that market because it's only going to go up.
Yeah, and look, Joe makes a great point, and this is usually my line of thinking as well. I'm the same way when it comes to the draft and things of this nature. If Jerry Jones turns those 2 first-round draft picks into all pro type selections, and they do actually win something meaningful, then okay, good trade, Jerry. But you got to make those picks, and they got to work out. And that's asking a lot. And Kenny Clark is a guy I like. I like him a lot. But if you look at his numbers last year, he started to decline a little bit, even though I think the Packers had given him a bit of a contract extension. So I right now it's clearly the Packers. But we'll see where things go. And look, had they signed Parsons, being the Cowboys, what was it I saw? Almost 50% of their cap would have been within 3 guys. I think it was 40 to 50%.
Probably would have been.
Yeah. And I think they just I think Jones said, I can't do that. I just can't. And so this is the guy I'm gonna part ways with. And it is what it is. Good for Green Bay. Hope it works out for them, except when they play us in week 8. And I think it's week 8. But yeah, we'll see. But that's as much time as I'm going to spend on.
I have.
Go ahead.
One final thought, because I say this a lot at draft time too. The draft capital, the Twitter analytics crew, and this kind of started with the Cleveland Browns when they were tanking, right? And people were like, oh, they're getting all these draft picks. Look at all this draft capital that they have. And then they drafted Baker Mayfield with the first overall pick and didn't re-sign him. And then the second best pass rusher in his class with the first pick, and the best one went 30 picks later.
Correct.
Nevertheless, draft capital is only as good as the people you have making the picks and the coaching staff you have to develop those picks. And that's it, right? You need the scouts and the GMs to make the picks, and you need coaches to develop them. And you could get the best possible player, and if he goes to a bad situation, it's not going to work out very well.
No doubt.
The other oh shoot, there was another point I wanted to make, but I forgot it. It was about something you said too, so I'll come back to it if I remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I do want to point that out about the draft. I remember, right? Yeah. The other thing about getting draft picks, right? It's like that episode of Family Guy where Peter's offered a boat or the mystery box, and he's like, Lois, a boat's a boat, but a mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat, right? Like, you have Micah Parsons, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league, and you're like, we're going to trade him for 2 first-round picks. 2 first-round picks could be anything. They could even be as good as Micah Parsons, right? So that's kind of how I feel about trading for draft picks too. That they could be good, or they could suck. Right?
Oh yeah. As a huge fan of Family Guy, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That analogy. It's very good. Okay, so the I don't really know what to compare the unveiling of the 53-man roster to anymore, because it's like you hurry up, you hear it, and then you immediately are like, well, this is not even going to be the 53-man roster probably in 24 hours. It's not even going to be, definitely not in the next 7 to 10 days. But in any case, we get all excited for it. So just let me kind of lay the groundwork here for everybody on the latest updates, and then we'll dive back into the who and the what and all that stuff. So today the Steelers did place Will Howard and Dante Kent on injured reserve, and they are of course designated for return. Minimum 4 weeks, I think they have to miss. That's correct, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you also had Chuck Clark and Max Sharping brought back. And obviously these are situations, and Ryan, you can speak to this better than I can, but a lot of times when guys are cut, the team flat out tells them, don't leave town. We're bringing you right back because we're going to do this and this and this and this. So that's really what has happened here. So Scribes, I'll start. If you want to mention any memories about that, go right ahead. But what were your big takeaways from the overall roster?
I mean, at the end of the day, the rules have changed since I left. And it was back then it was a lot simpler to know who was really going to make the team and who wasn't. This time around, there's some loopholes, and as we've seen, with Will Howard making the roster, but then potentially being on IR the whole year. You know what I mean? You often see this in the NHL where they do things like that. But I think that I look at the roster, and I see some names. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that necessarily equates to a better team or more success. I just don't know. I don't want to say there were any super surprises, because now the other thing too is like the practice squad. The practice squad used to be for guys who were literally 1 year of experience or less. Yeah. Now Robert Woods is on a practice squad. Robert Woods is 187 years old. What are we doing? And that's fine. I have no problem with that. Yep. But it's it's just totally different. So
it is.
They have a lot of different type of flexibility now than they did when I was still there. So
there are, and I'm not going to get into the exact rules because I'm not going to claim that I know everything, but they can keep certain, I think it's up to 4 veterans on the practice squad, and then everybody else has to be under a certain amount of accrued seasons to be on there. So that's why Robert Woods and I don't remember who posted this, but Robert Woods apparently requested to stay with the Steelers. He said he loves being here, and he would just as soon be part of the organization. You know, he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's definitely on the downside of his career, and figures, you know, hey, I'll ride this out. And you know, credit to him for doing that. He you know, didn't have to request that, but he did. So credit to him. Ian, your big takeaway from the overall roster?
I was a little surprised they kept Deontay Kent originally, but you know, seeing that they moved him to IR,
right?
I guess it was because he wasn't even really practicing or playing much in the preseason game.
Didn't see any action.
That was a surprise to me, but I guess it was a guy that they thought they had some upside there and didn't want to expose him to waivers, which was why you keep him and then put him on IR. One thing I do want to say, though, is just a slight correction, Mark.
Yeah, go for it.
Either of them were designated for return yet. They said the window's open for them to return.
Yes.
They don't actually have to designate them until they want them to start practicing again. So like you could have a situation where there was some guy a couple years ago, I don't remember who it was, but
it was a lineman, wasn't it?
I think that they put on IR and they were like, we're probably going to bring him back, but he never started practicing because he kept having setbacks with injuries or something like that. So he just spent the rest of the year on IR, and they didn't actually have to burn one of their actual allocated spots to bring guys back. Although, as Ben mentioned last week, that number is also increased now. They can bring a lot more guys back from IR than they used to be able to. So they will possibly bring these guys back. And it really is like if they want them to start practicing, right? If they want Will Howard to start practicing, then they got to designate him for return. And then I think he has 21 days from when that happens to practice. And then they either have to, if he has a setback, they can put him back on IR and his season's done.
Right.
Or if, you know, he progresses fine, then they got to either cut him or take him off IR and put him on the 53. So it does give him some flexibility, especially with Howard, that they can buy some time to potentially trade either Mason or Skyler. I doubt they would trade Mason, but you know, with the way Skyler performed in the preseason, it opens the door if you get it. Like if some team calls you and is like, we'll give you a 4th or 5th round pick for Mason Rudolph, you got to at least like consider that, right? Like, you know, and Mason didn't show anything in the preseason that made me be like, oh yeah, he can definitely come in and recapture that magic he had 2 years ago. So I wasn't shocked they kept 4 quarterbacks. Given the injuries on the defensive line, I wasn't super shocked they kept an extra one there. And so, you know, and Isaiah Loudermilk's like the cat of 9 lives now. Like he keeps making this team
unbelievable
somehow, right? And so it's but I guess, you know, kind of given the Derek Harmon injury, it makes sense.
Yes.
So we'll see where it goes and how it plays out, but they definitely still have flexibility as well to potentially sign more guys. They have some cap space now that they could sign trade for a wide receiver, sign a wide receiver, whatever it is. Defensive line depth. Sharping they brought back now has some starting experience, and they kept Andrews Pete, who also has some starting experience, a lot of starting experience.
Yeah, they're really good as far as depth right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. I do think wide receiver 2 is still the big gap. I guess Roman Wilson's our wide receiver 2 now going into week 1. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to be patient, I guess, with Omar Khan. I feel like he's trying. Were there any truly wide receivers that got cut this week that you were like, okay, this is a number 2 guy that we really should go after?
I mean that's tough to say. It just seems kind of strange that literally every wide receiver available did sign here.
You're right. Right.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a go ball guy, like, right? I mean, like, but I mean, is that something that you need in this offense? Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing, and that's why, like, I keep going back to this. Like, I don't understand why fans think that we got this like amazing wide receiver group. Yeah, okay, Muth is decent. Jonnu Smith might be a weapon, but like, if they can't run the ball and they lock down DK Metcalf, and it's happened before. Like DK Metcalf gets frustrated. He gets into some fights. I don't know if he's ever been ejected, but he's definitely gotten some personal
Gotten
foul
into some
penalties.
rhubarbs. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, which is fine. It's just the way the game goes. But I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of faith in Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson or Scotty Miller or Ben Skoranek. I don't. And then, okay, let's say Robert Woods comes up from the practice squad. Like, who's afraid of Robert or who's afraid of Robert Woods? So like,
Right.
I just that's why I'm still hesitant, and I'm not ready to make any like outlandish predictions or whatnot. But
Wait till next week.
oh yeah,
yeah.
just
Next
wait.
week.
But,
Yeah.
but like okay. So let's be real about this. I think George Pickens is going to do much better in Dallas this year than he would have had he stayed in Pittsburgh. And the reason for that,
I agree.
The reason for that is because obviously with Dallas trading Micah Parsons, I don't think their defense is that great. So Dallas doesn't have to pass the ball. They're going to have to try to keep up. And I think Pickens will benefit from that. So if Pickens stayed here, that didn't guarantee him any success.
Agree.
It's just because based on how we've seen this team operate, they want to run again. They want to run the ball. And, Arthur Smith loves getting everybody involved. So, who knows who's going to catch the ball. The other thing too is like, it's like 1 week fans are like con artist, fucking greatest GM of all time. And then this week they're like, Omar, what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, okay, I kind of agree with the latter, because I'm not going to sit here and crown Omar because he hasn't done anything yet. But like, I also understand why fans are kind of like, what are you doing here? You traded away George Pickens and you didn't do anything to better yourself in the receiver room.
Haven't really replaced him. This is a fair question. Bishop Ball, welcome to the show, by the way. I think you're pretty new. I don't think you can evaluate. I think we can only evaluate based on what we've seen in camp, based on what we've seen in the preseason. And obviously that does not count Aaron Rodgers because we didn't see him in the preseason. I like Calvin Austin III. I like Roman Wilson. I do. The problem is when we run the ball, we can't constantly take one of those guys out, put Ben Skoranek in because, well, defenses are going to pick up pretty quickly that, hey, Skoranek's in, they must be running the ball. You got to be able to do both. And
who is it a couple years ago?
Miles Boykin. Miles Boykin. Yeah.
Miles Boykin's in the game, so you knew, right? You know they're going to run the ball.
And so that I guess that's what my point is with, are they still searching for that wide receiver too, or have they just kind of decided this is what we're going with because we're going to use a ton of 12, a ton of 13, and we really don't care anymore? I don't know. I have no idea in that regard. Ian, how surprised were you about Corliss Waitman?
Not really. I mean, I thought he outperformed.
He did.
Cam Johnson in the preseason. So yes, the Bill Burr. So I wasn't shocked by it. They did sign Cam to the multi-year deal as the punter, but Waitman came in last year, performed well. They have some familiarity with them, and I thought from a couple years back when we had to sign Waitman because of an injury, that he came in and could just boom the ball. I thought last year he showed a lot more finesse on his kicks, the ability to stop balls inside the 20, and it wasn't just the big leg. He still has the big leg, but he has a little bit more of the ability to angle the ball and stop the ball that he's developed over time. So everything I saw to him in the preseason, I was like, yeah, this guy's objectively winning the punter battle. So I wasn't shocked. I think they made
Right.
the right decision.
I mean, his net was 10 yards higher than
Yeah.
Bill Burr's. So
Yes.
like, what do you? I mean, I know it's just preseason, but like a 10-yard difference is a big deal, man. Like
Yeah. And
net is where it's at.
Yeah, and I think they had an equal number of opportunities, if I'm not mistaken, and if they did, it was only off by maybe one. The other thing too that we sometimes forget about, and I'm not saying this factored in at all because I don't know the answer to this, but Danny Smith probably does go to Chris Boswell and say, is there one particular of these two guys that you like holding for you more than the other? And again, I'm not saying that made a difference, not at all, but you never know. I mean, it could be just the simple way that one of them sets up versus the other. And if it was Waitman and, hey, he's got that 10-yard net average advantage, well, he's our guy then. So I don't know. I think we sometimes forget about the little subtleties, where a long snapper consistently puts the ball for the holder, things of this nature. The game really truly is a game of inches, and it can come down to those types of things. Long snapper, do we have a definitive answer right now as far as Christian Kuntz and his availability for week 1? I mean,
they haven't heard anything.
They haven't done anything because they brought a guy in initially after he got hurt, and then they released him.
Okay,
and I think he's going to be good to go for week 1. Now the team is off right now for 4 days, and they'll come back on and start their normal prep week. They'll be in Monday, and then of course they have their mandatory players day off Tuesday, and then they start ramping up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so, those are usually days that they bring in somebody, to try out. But to my knowledge, they're not looking. So I think they're good to go with Christian Kuntz, which is great, because man, I felt bad for that dude. He looked bad coming off the field, clutching his chest. I mean, you just don't want to see that at all. I want to move back.
Maybe one of those, like, it's a sternum injury, so it may be one of those like pain tolerance things that it's it's gonna hurt, but if you can deal with it, you can play.
Right.
So Roethlisberger was like the king of that. That it was like, if it's a pain tolerance issue, he's gonna play. It doesn't,
Yes, no doubt about it.
So. One other thing, shameless plug here. So my Whippeal Blitz podcast that I do, this past week we had these guys on that are doing this camp at Pine Richland High School this weekend, coming up Labor Day weekend, for kickers, punters, and long snappers. And I thought it was cool that guys were out there doing a camp for high school, specialists, right?
Oh, no doubt.
It doesn't happen that much that those guys get a camp like dedicated to themselves. So I had him on my show, and the one guy they had both been kickers in high school and gone on to college and kicked. And the one guy talked about like the different guys that would hold for him and how they would spin the ball. And if they spun the ball, the laces one way versus they spun it the other way, like it would mess up his kicking. And I was like, you don't think about that as a fan watching it, but to your point, Mark, about like, who does he like as a holder better? Like, just even how the holder catches the ball, sets it down, and spins it into place. Yeah. Like the way he described it was like, if he spun it to the left, it felt like the ball was coming towards me, and I had like, it was too close. So I wanted him to spin it to the right so I could do my full swing. I was like, just the level of detail there that these guys look for, when you get to a certain level and so accustomed to kicking, makes such a huge difference that I'm sure at the professional level, every little thing matters. Yeah,
exactly. And that's exactly where I was going with that. And your comment just supported that. So clearly I am the smartest man alive. Hardly. What is your take on, I've seen some of the beats talk about this. They say that they don't like Will Howard going on IR because it's going to slow his development. Okay. What is your take on that?
Okay. Him going on IR has no impact on his development, but him missing the preseason does have an impact on his development.
No argument there.
I think I said this, that the shame of Will Howard's injury when it happened was that preseason was going to be the only live snaps in a game that he saw all this year. So it was a shame that he had to miss that time because he was going to basically have to go a full year, almost 2 years, without playing live football, right? Unless some absolute disaster happens. So I don't think like running the scout team during practice is really going to mess up, or, not running the scout team during practice, I guess, is really going to mess up his development at this point. He'd be getting a very minimal amount of snaps and a limited amount of reps, and wouldn't even really be running like our offense. Right. So I don't really see that as a limiting factor in his development. I think missing the preseason, where he definitely would have had, all told, honestly, if Howard had been healthy, they probably wouldn't have played Skylar as much.
No doubt.
He probably missed out on 5 to 6 quarters of game action because of that injury, which doesn't sound like a lot, but still, in the grand scheme of things, considering he's not going to actually play in a game for almost 2 years, probably is significant. But missing the preseason has a lot more to do with his development than not being on the scout team for
no argument. And I really struggled hearing that today, that it's going to stunt his growth. And I mean, he's still around the team. I mean, it's not like he's not suspended. He can't,
So what you're saying is he's not like Rashard Mendenhall, where he's just going to leave town after he goes on IR?
Just going to walk out. That's it for me. I'm out.
Not to put a quarter in Ryan by mentioning his favorite player. But...
Were you there when he did that, Scarps?
No, that was 2008. That's after Ray Lewis took his collarbone.
That's right. That's right. Okay. We were just talking before you stepped out. We were just talking a little bit about Will Howard and everything. And did Scarps, did you buy at all that what people were suggesting, that Skylar Thompson could possibly replace Mason Rudolph as the true backup?
I like how you asked Ryan this question.
Well, no. So this whole fucking this is why, like, okay. Casey's gonna touch on this later. Casey's gonna touch.
I was thinking he would, but
I was getting. He said, I get that fucking men and balls. The like, and the NFL is 365 days a year now, and it sucks because it's just like the moment the Steelers are done, it's just like, it's just this endless chatter of what ifs and what ifs, and literally once upon a time, Mason Rudolph was QB1 and Will Howard was QB2 and Skylar Thompson was QB3 and Aaron Rodgers wasn't even part of the equation.
Nope.
And then Aaron Rodgers comes in, and then it became, Will Howard's going to be QB2 because he was a draft pick, and even though he was in the 6th round, it doesn't matter. He's going to be the backup. And then, people like me who are fucking normal, sane, and rational were like, if you've ever even watched a Mike Tomlin fucking team, he's going to put a veteran as the backup. And this is before Will Howard got hurt. And I mean, it sucks that Will Howard got hurt. Absolutely sucks.
No question.
I feel terrible for him.
Yep.
But his only shot here was to show something in the preseason, and he didn't because he couldn't. It is what it is. So Will Howard went from being potential QB1 to not even being a part of the equation. And then somehow in the mix, Skylar Thompson, who was the original QB3 before Rodgers started, became the QB2 over Mason, because these fans are fucking stupid. And I'm looking at all of you right now and saying that it's true. It is absolutely absurd how, like, that fans think that like fans will sit there and be like, oh, fucking Mike Tomlin sucks. Whatever. Do you know anything about Mike Tomlin? Like, regardless of your personal opinion about him, use logic and rational thought.
Logic
about him.
What are the
about Mike Tomlin? because once upon a time it was Ben Roethlisberger, Charlie Batch was the backup, and Byron Leftwich was the third guy.
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and be like, "Fuck, I'd rather have Byron as the backup." But like that's just the way it is. So I understand that people don't like Mason Rudolph, and I'm not asking you to like the guy or whatever, but like Mike Tomlin was always going to go with Mason Rudolph. So to think that somehow Skylar Thompson jumped him when, again, Skylar Thompson was behind Will Rudolph. Sorry. Now I'm getting scratch that reverse. I'm thinking of Cal Rudolph, the former Notre Dame tight end.
Right.
But Will Howard was somehow it doesn't make any sense. And at the end of the day, Will Howard got hurt. Skylar Thompson performed well. Mason was Mason, as we all know.
Yeah.
And thank you, Cliff. That's not really I having a microphone moment, but it's just all these fans, the fans that I have a problem with act like they've watched so much ball and they know Mike Tomlin and they know this organization, and everything that they say contradicts that.
So I think the real talk is this simple. When Mason Rudolph goes into a preseason game, he's playing against typically 1s and 2s, all right, sometimes 3s. When Skylar Thompson goes into the preseason game, he's typically playing against the 3s, 4s, UPS drivers, you name it. Okay?
Grocery baggers.
Yeah. And that's not in any way to take away from his performance, because you can only play against the people that you're set out there to play against, and you can only play with the teammates that you're sent out there to play with. So absolutely, I don't bemoan him that at all. But there is a reality there that fans have to understand that, and that doesn't mean that Mason shouldn't have played better, especially in the last preseason game and whatnot. But it's context. It's important to remember that, that who these guys are playing does matter, especially to these coaches when they sit down and they look at the tape. It really does matter. Any other quarterback comments, Ian?
No, I'm still worried that Aaron Rodgers played 0 snaps in the preseason.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
I think it's going to be a rough week 1. The rhythm's not going to be there. I mean, not only is it a new quarterback, but it's a new wide receiver 1 who played 0 snaps. It's some new alignments on the offensive line, and the line did start to come along as the preseason went on. I'll give credit where it's due there.
Sure.
But there's just a lot of uncertainty to have 0 on-field reps together.
And throw into the fact that they're going to be on the road.
Yes.
As well.
And I know we'll talk about this next week, but Ian, I totally agree. And I know he's one of a kind, and whether you hate him, most people hate him, but fucking Tom Brady was like, we got to get at least a couple series in as a unit. And yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. There's a chance that you can get hurt. There's a chance that shit can go wrong. But and again, I've never played the game. I'm not going to act like I did, but just think about any scenario you've ever had to handle where there's 11 people involved. Whether it's for Ian, it's a family trip.
That's almost true.
Just loading the van is a fucking process.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, Ian going to Giant Eagle is a fucking case study.
Hey, we shop at Costco, man. We don't.
That's fine. No,
there's no Giant Eagle. We got to get things in bulk.
But think about that. Think about it. You have. Ian has a wife and 7 kids, so that's 9 total.
Yeah,
potentially going somewhere at one time. And Ian, you know this. How many fucking things could go wrong at any given moment? But then think about that. Add 2 more people to the mix, and you're performing in front of 70,000 people in the stadium.
Yep.
You know, as The Rock would say, Aaron, this is for you and the millions and millions of people watching around the world. Like, there's pressure. There is absolutely pressure that goes into that. So, like, the fact that, like, the first time we're ever going to see all the ones together is going to be that first offensive series in New York. Oh, and by the way, their quarterback is the guy that we didn't re-sign, so I'm sure he has something to prove. Their defense knows Aaron Rodgers, and I'm sure, you know, Woody Johnson and the Jets are probably like, you know, F this guy. So, like I would have loved to have seen at least
Totally agree.
three total offensive series by the ones, just to get a little bit of flow or something, or camaraderie, because you know, I can't remember who said it. It was one of the parody accounts on Steelers Twitter, and it's one that I actually do enjoy. Confirmed. And I think he said something like, you know, getting hyped up, and then the Steelers go 3-and-out on their first drive. It's going to hit like crack in 2 weeks or whatever. And it's true. Like,
it's absolutely true.
Like we're all expecting you know, DK Metcalf to catch a 50-yard pass or something, but you know, they haven't really played together. And you know, I'm on a roll right now. I've had some drinks. Can I keep this going real quick?
Can you? Sure, go for it.
That's what she said. But God, I'm gonna get kicked off the show after tonight. But the point, the point is like, the more this shit happens in the preseason, because they're not the only team to do it, the more the NFL is gonna say, okay, fuck it, 2 preseason games, 18 games, and
that's coming.
In the you know, and obviously, like, you know, the NFLPA is under a little bit of scrutiny over the last month with the various things that have happened.
Yep.
And they're going to talk a lot of shit, and they're going to talk a tough game, and the NFL's going to be like,
Oh, they're going to
microscope's on you this time. So you know, this isn't 2011. This isn't that bullshit. You're going to listen to what we say, and you're going to agree to it. And I sit there as a fan and say, I mean, these guys aren't playing in the preseason anyway, so what does it matter, you know?
Yeah.
And they're going to have to figure out the bye weeks and all that stuff, and that's not my problem. But is everyone shits on the preseason, but it matters.
Yes, absolutely, it does. You know, I think it was Tom that made the point. You know, if I'm going to go out play golf with my buddies, I usually try to, you know, get in a few rounds before. It's no different. I mean, you go out and shoot hoops. You know, you're gonna shoot hoops with your kid. You want to fire off a couple of shots before, you know, just I mean, you want to warm up. And George, I agree. Aaron Rodgers is a veteran. He's been around the block, but to Scarp's point, it's that timing thing. I don't care how realistic you make practice. It's not a game situation.
And Steel Dad and George, I understand what you're saying. He's been around the block. If Devontae Adams was DK Metcalf, I would feel better, because they have that relationship.
Yeah.
These dudes have thrown to each other in California on a practice field where nobody's around. Totally different. It's just, and
believe me, I hope we're wrong. I hope this team comes out flying, but we've been here before. We've seen this movie. We know what it looks like. We know how it usually works. So realistically, I'm not going to expect that. That's for sure. One of the other interesting guys that did not make the 53-man was Beanie Bishop Jr. He is on the practice squad. Ian, why do you think he did not make it? He seemed to be kind of a fan favorite. Not that should mean anything, but, you know, why didn't he make the roster?
That's a good question. So he took 0 snaps in the last preseason game. There was some talk that he may have tweaked something injury-wise before the game happened. So maybe he was a little bit injured, but I don't quite know what it is with Beanie Bishop, because when he's out there, I mean, yeah, you get the breakdowns and plays given up, but he also produces some splash plays
He
like
does.
interceptions. So, I mean, there is some inconsistency there, but he was an undrafted free agent. Let's not forget either. So,
Yep.
you know, I don't know why the coaches don't trust him. It could be one of those things you don't see, like a communication issue or something like that. But I don't know exactly, but there's definitely something that the coaches don't have full faith in him. The other side of it is they were just in a bad numbers game at cornerback that you had the top 3 guys, and then Brandon Echols is your number 4.
Right.
And you're looking at this like, okay, we've got four guys at corner, and Beanie Bishop is only a slot guy. So, you know, like they're just, but you've got Porter, Slay, and Ramsey. So you're one of those guys, probably Ramsey's going to play slot in base. Echols is the backup slot. So it's like, are we going to keep a third guy who can only play slot? Like the numbers game just didn't work out very well there for Beanie.
Right. The one thing I was told, just from people I talked to, is that they love him, but he does struggle with assignments. And isn't always where he's supposed to be. And that was one of the reasons why Cam Sutton, who was more veteran, and as you said earlier in the show, Ian, Mike Tomlin always defers to veterans. And even though when Bishop got on the field, he would find a way to make a splash play, whereas Sutton didn't do jack squat, he still went with Sutton, you know? And so hopefully Bishop can get that cleaned up. But yeah, I think to George's point, there's better options. It's a numbers game. You know, work on your game, to be on the practice squad. He's going to get a helmet at some point this year. It's just law of averages when it comes to these injuries and stuff. But you know, James Pierre didn't make it either. He's on the practice squad. You know, now they did bring back Chuck Clark, as I said in the opening. So they kind of have their 4 safeties again, but it's an interesting group.
Yeah,
Scarps?
yeah. I just want to make a quick point about like the practice squad rules now and all this stuff. But you know, a friend of mine, and you know, I'm always going to go to bat for the Pittsburgh media. Chris Adamski had a good note the other day, and he said that the Steeler that had played the most games as a Steeler since like 2000, or sorry, since 2020. Forgive me, was James Pierre.
Yeah.
I think it's 82 games. And he even, like, I'm not saying that, like, you know, because you played the most games, you automatically make the squad, but it just goes to show that, like, you're not guaranteed a spot.
Nope.
And then you could still be in the league for years and play almost 100 games and still have practice squad eligibility. So, you know, again, I know I joked earlier about, you know, you used to have to be like essentially a rookie or a first year guy to go to the practice squad, but I think that gives teams a little bit of flexibility now, and that's nice. I will say this about Robert Woods though, and I'm not trying to pick on Robert Woods, and I've said this on the show many times. So my Robert Woods is Ian's Jamison Crowder's. These are two different guys, but we've both sort of went to bat for free agency for years now, at least as long as I've been on the show. Ian's always like, fucking, we need to go like Jamison Crowder. And I'd be like, you know, fucking Robert Woods really makes sense for this team. And literally, like, they're fucking too old now. But like Robert Woods, so to me, like Robert Woods staying with this team, and he said the right thing about wanting to play with Aaron Rodgers. He loves Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. But part of me thinks that Robert Woods is like, we got these young pups up there who don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're gonna eventually have to go to me, which is not
it's a fair thought.
Which is fair, as opposed to the old rules. Robert Woods probably be just chilling right now somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he'd be a free agent waiting to get signed by somebody.
So, you know, it helps. And I don't mind that they've sort of expanded the criteria.
No, I think that's a great point. It would be very, very different, and you wouldn't have that veteran presence in the wide receiver room because, well, they wouldn't be allowed to be on the practice squad.
Another great point was the one that Braden Fajoko brought up about like, hey, I can make a damn good living being on the practice
Yes,
squad. Like,
yes, that was a great post by him. Well, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit and jump in if you remember it better than me, Ian. But he basically said, "Look, I can make like, $200, almost $300,000 over 17 weeks being on a practice squad. That's pretty good money for."
I think it was more than that, right? Because they make
was it like 400,000 something? It's I couldn't remember.
I think it was almost 400,000. Yeah, he said, because it's what, like 22 or 25K a week if you're on the practice squad, but then also like if you get called up to the active roster, it goes to 50K. So if you get that 1 or 2 weeks, and that like you can easily make 400,000 being on the practice squad. No, which is just incredible that like you can make that much money. Like to a normal person, it's like incomprehensible to make that much money in a year. And like, oh yeah, I'm not even on an active roster and I can make that much money.
Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't mention one Mr. Connor Meatball Hayward. Number one, he's on the roster. He's listed as a fullback tight end. I think a thinking man watches him and realizes that he's prized for his special teams knowledge and prowess there more than anything. But he also, and Scarps, I thought you made a great point today. He responded to a Twitter troll, if you will, and he's had a lot of them lately. A lot of people don't think he deserves to be on the team. He's only there because his brother's there. A lot of other things of that nature. And what was it that you said about players responding like that?
I don't remember. Hold on.
Well, you it's okay. You just basically said when a player responds to something like that, it doesn't go well either way.
Speaking from experience, and it's almost the 7th anniversary of Trade Me Let's Find Out.
He's got it in his date book.
Yeah. 9/19, 2018. Not that I remember it, but I mean, it is a lose-lose. It is a lose-lose when a player responds to an angry fan. And my experience was different because I had worked with Antonio Brown for a long time. I still to this day think he thought I still work for the team. So which doesn't surprise me, even though I was gone for a year at that time. But I just think it's a lose-lose because and the other thing too is about it is Scarps makes a living off of her
Matt Smith, not even in the whole chat the whole night.
I was about to say, Matt
comes in from the top.
Matt, I was about to say, I wish I got paid for doing that.
We got to get you a blue check, Scarp.
Yeah, I wish I got paid for doing that. But there's there's a different like when you start posting screenshots of of interactions you've had with a player, and then doing this and doing that, and then you got the internet sleuths out there saying, oh well, you fucking said Connor Hayward sucks 15 times. It's just like, but at the end of the day, Connor Hayward basically said I don't fuck with you, we don't fuck with you. So he's talking about his brother, obviously. So it's like, I mean, to me, it's like, what do you gain from doing that? What do you gain from responding to, by the way, his name's Pickensburg, and he's changed it to Metcalfburg because George Pickens isn't here anymore. And it's like, what are you really gaining from that? Like how does that account impact you in any way? And I get back to my personal situation with Antonio Brown, and I want to say this. Antonio Brown didn't say, I don't fuck with you, Scarps. He said, trade me, let's find out, because he had an agenda. He had something that he wanted to say. And, let me see Matt's comment.
Notice
while
nobody.
you read Matt's comment, I'm just going to jump in and say,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
anytime you see an account on Twitter that ends in Berg, you're
Yes.
about to read the dumbest fucking shit you've ever read. So
Yes.
just prepare.
No.
Like yes.
No,
Yeah.
and Matt
That's all I
Smith
got.
brings up a good point. And I believe that Antonio Brown responded to me specifically because he knew who I was.
Yeah.
But I agree with Matt that, like, what does Connor Hayward gain from that? Because the narrative is that he's only on the team because
Because
his
of his
brother's
brother.
there.
Yep.
So if I were him, I wouldn't have said a word.
No, I wouldn't.
Right.
Have
I wouldn't have responded to a DM. I wouldn't have tweeted it. I wouldn't have said anything. So, but like, it's just never a good scenario. It's never a good scenario,
No.
whether you're the player or you're the account that does it. It leads to a story. Now, in this case, it's not a former Steelers employee saying it. So nobody's going to go up to Connor Hayward tomorrow and be like, hey, Pickensburg said that, this or that. But it's just like you're never going to win arguing with a fan like that. And in Casey is going to talk about this a little bit later. Matt Smith, me and you were on the same page that I don't like this, but I do.
Yeah.
But it is so true. Like it is same thing with Cam Hayward this year. Obviously Connor's brother, but like, we're at the point where we haven't heard anything about Cam's new contract. And like, there's a lot of people online that are saying I'm trying to be fair about it. A lot of people are like, fuck him, he saw, he's blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, just go out and play, man. And as we all know, opening kickoff at the Jets game, Boz nails one at like the 8-yard line, and the returner gets to the 17, and Connor Hayward fucking smacks him in the face. They're gonna be like, "This is why we kept this guy. This is why we."
No, you're right. You're exactly right. That's how it works. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. You're 100% accurate. These guys, and it's hard. I know it's hard. They want to respond a lot more often than they do, and they just shouldn't. There's nothing good that comes from it. I wish he wouldn't have, but he did. And bottom line, he's a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. At least from what I can tell, as long as Danny Smith loves him, and he does his job, and something to be said for that.
Sorry, Steel Dad. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Finish up.
No, but I would also say too, and again, I never played the game, and I'm not acting like I did, but I've seen the guys that have done it, and I've seen the guys that preparation goes into it. And like, if you knew how hard Connor Hayward worked, that's what she said.
That's what she said.
But if you knew the preparation that he did, and like the other thing about it is like Connor Hayward's probably a guy that puts more preparation into it than a guy like Ben Roethlisberger did. And I know people are going to hate me for saying that, but like Connor Hayward probably watching more film. He's eating better. He's in the weight room more. But he just doesn't have that athletic ability or gamer mentality to overcome things like Ben did. But because he's not really playing that sexy position, he's the fourth tight end, he's the fullback, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. It's unfortunate because we live in that Nepo baby world.
We do.
Where everybody wants to call it that way.
Yep.
And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. But bottom line is, it ain't worth responding to a Berg account. And like these
any negativity.
These Berg accounts have tens of thousands of followers. And like they live off of just chaos. So who gives a shit?
Ian, let me shift gears here just a second. First of all, I have a former student who is a rah-rah. She's a freshman. Tonight's her very first game for the Badgers. So good luck to her. Hopefully she doesn't fall down and become a viral sensation or something like that. In any case,
the Wisconsin Mark mentions this because the Wisconsin Badgers are currently locked in a 3-0 battle with Miami, Ohio, in a true like sickos matchup.
Oh, it's a classic Wisconsin game. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened to Luke Fickell. It's like he forgot all about how to run any sort of offense when he left Cincinnati, but be that as it may.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how did Carson Bruner make the roster?
That's a good question. Special teams, honestly.
Yeah.
And special teams, that's one of those deciding factors. And I think they kind of got to a point with Mark Robinson where they're like, we know what you bring to the table, and you're not really going to progress beyond being a special teamer. He's a good special teamer.
Mm-hmm.
And, he could take some snaps on defense, but really wasn't progressing to a point where like you felt comfortable having him out there on defense, especially if the other team ran a passing play. So,
True. No, you're right. You're right.
It's one of those things where, Bruner was a draft pick, and we talk about their love of veterans. They also love the guys they just picked in the draft, right?
No doubt about
They're
it.
not like the teams that pick a guy in the 6th round, the Eagles specifically I'm thinking of, with Kyle McCord, and cut him because they're like, nope, didn't make it in camp. Maybe we'll put you on the practice squad. We know we just drafted you, but
did he stick on their practice squad?
You know what? I don't even know.
I can't remember where he went, if he went anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he did,
Okay.
but I know they cut him, but
Yeah.
I did not see their practice squad.
I
so
didn't either.
I barely saw our practice squad. I've been really busy at work.
I know it's been a crazy week.
Here's a guy that's got priorities.
Right.
Hey, I looked at the Steelers practice squad. I did not look at the Eagles practice squad.
No,
this is not an Eagles podcast. Right.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, though. They know what Mark Robinson is.
Yeah.
And I think the one advantage Bruner has is they looked and said, okay, we're pretty even as far as special teams, but Bruner is at least a guy, if I have to rely on him to play some defense, he can cover.
Yeah.
Better than Robinson.
Yes. And McCord did get put on the Eagles practice squad. So there's that. But
yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, no, I just think that it's a, those tail end of the roster spots go to Danny Smith. And at the end of the day, we've seen this before with the Steelers too, that they usually will give a guy 3 years, right? Like they give him a year that they draft him, they'll keep him around. They'll give him a second year to maybe figure it out. But if you don't kind of figure it out by that 3rd year, it's like, especially when they just picked a guy, granted in the 7th round, but because they just picked a guy who can basically do similar things, they're like, all right, we're going to give this new guy a shot because you haven't figured it out. So,
I think it's about a 3-year thing, and seems to be in that particular range. There is a former Steeler that probably needs a little bit of mentioning here. And Scarps, I'm once again going to just tee you up for this. Kenny Pickett was traded again. He is now on his 4th team in 4 seasons. Is it all the Pittsburgh Steelers' fault?
I don't know what Matt Smith is talking about. I made it because of my dad. I don't know what
I'm sure he'll enlighten us.
Yeah, Matt.
I'm guessing, is this a Hayward reference? Because
I think it's a Hayward nepotism reference or something. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not positive.
Interesting, Matt Smith. Yeah. I will find out who you really are at one point in my life, and
have a beer with you. Because
he's actually Connor Hayward.
Probably would. It might have been.
Yeah.
Oh, Bruner.
Oh, Bruner. Yeah.
Okay.
My bad. I should have known that, Matt. Yeah. That does help.
Oh,
let's be honest.
I was about to say, I was like, are you my dad, Matt Smith? Like, what the fuck is happening? I don't like this. I'm a little weirded out, obviously.
I didn't think my dad was watching.
No, I would just like this. I would just like to say this is like, it has been a very, very long time on Twitter.
Yeah.
Where I've had an unpleasant interaction. And I mean this.
Yeah.
And oftentimes my recent pleasant interactions were with the Picketologists.
Yes.
And Kenny Pickett gets traded again, and okay, it is what it is.
Yep.
and I made a comment about Pickett, and it wasn't even like bad. It was just in general.
Yes.
Matt Smith. I'd love it. I honestly, Matt, I don't know who the fuck you are, but I would absolutely have a drink with you. Unless you are my dad, that'd be weird. But but the moment I made a comment about Kenny Pickett, the fucking Picketologist just came out of the woodworks.
Yep.
And I had this account, I'm not even gonna say who it is, just like I'm still getting mentioned. This dude's been battling for 3 days. So like part of me wants to like be like respectful of that, but also part of me would be like, TD, it is at Scarpezio. It is not link in bio, but but it just became this like it became I'm convinced that the Pickett family pays people to fight their battles.
It feels
online.
that way.
And nothing that I said was like was hyperbole. It was all facts. Like he is not a good quarterback at this level. Like I don't want to hear about who failed him, who did this and who did that. He is, and hey, Mr. Tummy, you're absolutely right. Listen, that is a perfectly okay gig that I would sign up for, and I think many people would sign up for. But
I would hold the line is for a few $1 million.
He was drafted in the first round, 20th or 21st, 20th overall, and he's now on his 4th team on his rookie contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he may very well get another contract after this year and continue to play, but he's never going to be a consistent starter every year.
No.
And the amount of people who are like, well, he has a ring. Okay, that's great. He does. Not going to take that away from him.
Chris Olodokun has 2 rings.
Yes, he does.
Right.
He does. But don't you think if he's such the competitor that we were told he was, don't you think he would rather be on his way to a second contract of another contract where he's a 10-year starter in this league, trying to lead his team to a Super Bowl victory? And I just you want to talk about people are always like, oh, the Steelers failed him, this and that, and the Steelers can't develop a quarterback. And I'm part of that in a sense that like I don't necessarily know if they have faith in a tiny little ring.
to Yinzer Gear's point, does he wear the ring over his glove? That's Oh, Ben. Oh, look, Ben's here. There must be an intermission at the Gorge.
Yeah, fucking Dave Matthews just played Trippin' Billies. And I'm tripping Billies.
Which sounded the exact same as the previous 3 songs he played. So
yes.
You really couldn't tell when one ended and the next one started.
I am here for the slander. I love it. Anyway, finish your point.
I don't even know what I was, but like it's kind of like how the Steelers fans make me hate the team more than I should.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as like where you talk about Pickett and it's just fans just his fans just don't know how to act, and whatever. But
yeah.
It just reminded me of some of the darker times on Twitter of when Mason Rudolph had to save this team from the shits,
right?
Because the first round pick couldn't. But I don't know.
Well, it's just, and I'll say this for Pickett, he was put into a difficult spot because I wouldn't want any quarterback to have to play under Matt Canada. I'll say that much. I'm not defending him. I'm just simply saying that part of it. Yeah, I can see why he'd be a little bit bitter about that, in that regard. Yes, Ian, thank you for letting Matt know. We did talk a little
Yes.
more roster stuff, some of the Parsons stuff before the drinks started to kick in here.
Just like any normal show, right? We're
Just,
in
so
mid-season
basically,
slumber.
yeah, there was some good content until the drinks kicked in. Yeah, for sure. Is this team, Ian, right now, one calendar year later, better than it was last year?
Oh boy. That's a great question. I mean, we saw how last year's team played out.
Right.
I think this year's best possible result is probably the same, like 10, 11 wins range. I think for a single individual calendar year, maybe we're slightly better off, but for the long term, I don't think we're better off because we signed a bunch of old veterans to 1-year contracts. So we still okay, we've got an offensive line now that's healthy. Fatanu's not hurt, thankfully. They've seemed like they've started to gel a little bit and come together, which is good. And we really have to build through the trenches. We drafted a young defensive lineman who seems like he's going to be pretty good. Yep. Signed TJ Watt to a long-term deal. So all those things were good. But at a lot of other positions, especially quarterback, we still don't have a long-term answer. So I have a hard time saying, if you want me to just compare 2025 to 2024,
yes,
we might be slightly better off than we were in 2024. But for the long term, I don't think we're any better off than we were last year because we're still in the same quarterback purgatory if we've got a guy for 1 year, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay. So yeah, I am strictly asking this question as a comparison between 2024 on August 28th and 2025 on August 28th. That's but I see where you're going, and you're not wrong.
I'd say we're slightly better for this calendar year, for this season, but for the long term, I don't know if we're better.
Okay. Scarps, what do you think?
I think on paper,
yep, that's all we
might be better.
Okay,
we got some names. That doesn't mean anything, though.
No.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think that there are a lot of questions, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, look, I don't want to get too far into because we'll spend a lot of time on it with the preview show. But if I go position by position, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson?
Russ had better stats last year. I mean, Russ's numbers were better. So I'll go push, but maybe slightly Russ.
All right. What about that backfield? I mean,
well, wait. Let's look at quarterback holistically, right? Because Russ missed some time. So Justin Fields is better than Mason Rudolph. So I think last year, I think it may overall be a push on the quarterback room. Maybe you could argue, and maybe last year's quarterback room was slightly better just because you had two guys who were NFL caliber starters versus one.
Do you think the running back room, Scarps, is better simply because of the addition of Kenneth Gainwell?
That's a good question.
I mean, Warren is Warren.
Yeah,
Johnson is he's not Najee, but that's the role he takes. And then you got Gainwell, which we didn't have last year.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know as we sit here. I don't. I'm sorry. Getting back to quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson. I'd rather have Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and whoever.
Kyle Allen was the
Kyle
third.
Allen.
Kyle Allen will be the backup in Detroit, by the way.
And Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old, man. We'll talk about this next week, next year, next week, whatever.
Both.
But I go ahead, keep going, and I'll see if I actually have I just have a
All right.
I just
Running
have-
back last year was better because Caleb Johnson hasn't done anything yet, and what I saw out of him in the preseason was not great. So I think Najee's consistency and ability to stay healthy makes last year's backfield better. I appreciate the addition of Gainwell, but
Okay.
last year's backfield was better.
What about wide receiver core?
The fact that we lost got rid of George Pickens is a tremendous improvement. Like, that's addition by subtraction. So this year's is better.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just laying it out there.
Look, I'm not going to ask tight end because I think tight end is better.
Yeah, tight end is better.
When you add a
I
Pro
would
Bowl
say
guy.
that wide receivers probably, I don't know if it's better because after DK Metcalf,
It's basically the same as last year, unless Roman Wilson really takes off.
yeah, I don't know.
Skoranic's back. CA3's back. I mean, no more Van Jefferson or Van down by the river Jefferson. Offensive line. Is offensive line better than it was last year?
Slightly if Broderick plays okay, I think slightly better.
Oh, if he plays well and the arrow was up the last couple of weeks, then
yeah.
I mean, yeah. Defensive line better than it was last year.
Oh, so basically we lost Ogunjobi, gained Derek Harmon,
Who's hurt,
and gained Yaya Black, who's I think defensive line's slightly better.
Linebackers?
Inside or outside?
Go with inside.
All right. Patrick Queen's the same. Peyton Wilson lost to Landon Roberts.
I think I'd take a Landon Roberts over.
I still question why we got rid of him. But
I mean, Peyton Wilson's a better cover guy, but
for sure, yeah.
I would take a Landon Roberts over Holcomb, Harrison, and Bruner.
I mean, the secondary is clearly better this year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you add a guy like Ramsey, you add Darius Slay. I
well,
know they're older,
the corners are better.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Minka didn't have a great year last year. I don't know if the safeties are better. The corners are definitely better. I will say, though, here's the one thing I'll say with linebackers is I think year 2 Peyton Wilson has the ability to be a lot better than year 1 Peyton Wilson. So that,
yes,
just having that year of experience under his belt. So now I do agree that losing a Landon Roberts is a big loss, but I think the year 2 Peyton Wilson could be the deciding factor there.
Are you guys concerned at all about the outside linebacker position?
From an injury standpoint, yes.
I mean, just an overall standpoint. Because
Yes.
you look at Herbig can't seem to stay healthy. Highsmith has what is looking like, I don't want to go all the way there, but I'll get close, looking like a chronic groin issue. You've got a 31-year-old TJ Watt and you've got Jack Sawyer. I mean, I'm concerned about it. Maybe that's just me, but I am.
Yeah.
I am very concerned about it. And you know, I think keeping DeMarvin Leal on the practice squad, again, he's not going to move the needle much for me if he has to get a helmet to play outside backer. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they made a move for depth there. I mean, Highsmith is just back to practicing, and Herbig, I'm not really sure what he's doing. So I'm concerned there. No doubt in my mind. We can't rely. TJ's got to have some blows. And I know that's stupid considering how much money we just paid him. And he needs to have his ass on the field. But he just goes like so freaking hard that he's got to take himself out once in a while. But, you know, be that as it may. Robert Graff, I hope Sawyer does surprise. I hope that he makes me and everybody else that thought he was really average in the preseason. I hope he just kicks some serious ass. Unfortunately, I don't have faith that he's going to do that this year. You know, maybe down the road, but not this year. You know, I don't know. We'll see. Anything else before we move on to Mr. Casey Kasem tonight?
No.
I do want to.
Next week's our preview show, so I feel like we're saving a little bit in the tank.
We
for
are.
next week,
We are
right?
holding back a little bit. There now,
is-
just for you, those of you that aren't familiar with the preview show, we will pick the winners of all the divisions. We will pick the wild cards. We will pick the conference title game participants and the Super Bowl participants. And we will also do a lengthy over-under on a number of Steelers and their expected statistics. As an example, TJ Watt, sack 16.5. Do you think he's over and under? Along with some fun ones in there as well. And then at the end of the year, we'll go back and revisit those. The only other thing,
wrong we all were.
Exactly. The only other thing I want to mention is that Goodell apparently said this week that he would like to push the number of international games all the way to 16 at some point. Currently, it's going to be 7 this year. I'm over it, but look, players don't like it, fans don't like it, owners love it because of the money, and they win out. So it's going to continue. And then the other thing, have you seen these rivalry uniforms that came out today?
I love them.
Some of them are great. Some of them are crap, which
I love them.
But aren't they just becoming the NBA? I mean, is it going to get to where we're just wearing different jerseys every week?
But who gives a shit? Like, why is that listen, everybody wants to call me a boomer, and I'm like, not with
I'm the
times.
boomer on this one because I hate it.
Fuck that. The Steelers should have 10 different fucking jersey combinations.
That is
including
blasphemy.
The block letters.
The only jersey they should have is the one with block numerals. That's it.
That
Black,
could be
white,
that should be their primary.
Yes, it should.
There should be a color rush. There should be a fucking
I'm fine with color
Thursday night heat. Sunday night heat.
Thursday night heat.
You're on this Sunday night heat, the old WWF.
Hasn't Art too said that as long as he's alive, they will never go all gold?
Thank goodness. They look like they're wearing
I don't want that.
Listen, like everybody talks about, I'm no fun or whatever. There's money to be made in that merchandise industry.
Yes.
Like
I pulled up the Nike app today, and it's just all this new rivalry stuff, and it's selling like hot.
It's funny though because the Bengals beat the Bills in Buffalo, when they went to the Super Bowl, Bills Mafia was like, oh, they got those fucking white jerseys, and like they're in the snow, they're gonna suck white or whatever. And now the Bills got those all white unis, and the Bills Mafia is like, I love these. I actually really do like those, but the point is, like, all fans contradict themselves, right? All fans
hypocrites.
are hypocrites. All fans are hypocrites.
Yeah, Aaron, I'm not sure how they work every 4 years. I don't know how all that's going to work. I assume we're going to wear the color rush at some point this year, and then obviously we wear the throwbacks week 8 against the Packers.
I want to make this clear before Casey that Matt Smith is fighting with Ian this show and not me. So
he is.
Keep it going, Matt.
Let's just and I'm here for it. Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm just about out of beer, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Casey Kasem.
Casey's Coast to Coast American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was August 28th, 1977. Our favorite correspondent and non-ball knower, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, 1 week from now, at this very moment, we'll be almost near the end of the NFL kickoff for the 2025 season. A game that will feature the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles and a team who hasn't made it to their conference title game since Bill Clinton was getting blowies in the Oval Office. Casey, remember when the Steelers used to play on opening night? 2006 and 2009 to be exact. After capturing their 5th and 6th Lombardi trophies, the Steelers were granted the honor of hosting the league's first official game of the season. Fast forward 16 years later, and we're just hoping for a playoff win. I know, Casey. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game in nearly a decade. But if we don't talk about it, it'll just go away. Wrong. It's staring us right in the face like a fat chick after you've had 12 beers and are offering to order wings and nachos.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
Casey, I keep seeing it's a good thing Twitter wasn't around when Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher were struggling. And that's a fair point. Twitter was indeed not around when those two coaches were leading the Steelers. But I can say with certainty that there were things called newspapers and local television. And if you wanted to keep up with Steelers news, those were your only options. Believe it or not, Casey, before the internet, we had a dialogue about the team and its players. Whether it was at your local bar or water cooler talk at work, we absolutely talked about the state of the Steelers. Now, let me be clear. If you mention Connor Hayward, a giant eagle, he wasn't coming through the frozen food aisle with some cauliflower rice and fish sticks to punch you in the face. But Casey, what I'm trying to say is that fans have been criticizing the Steelers, players, and coaches for years. But now it's just easier to do it online. That being said, the team's current playoff drought under Mike Tomlin would be talked about in some form or fashion, even if the internet wasn't around. So, why do we shy away from talking about the playoff shortcomings? I'll never understand it. Well, Ryan, you and me both. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars and keep your radio tuned right where it is. Down 12 spots this week to number 37 off of Lace and Whiskey. Here's Alice Cooper with You and Me.
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper. He's stupid. Outstanding.
Are you calling me stupid?
How in the hell did we do 90 minutes tonight? I'm sitting here thinking, man, we'll be lucky to get in an hour. Well, yeah, that's definitely what she said.
Keep going.
Yeah, be here next week, guys. It's going to be the big season preview show. It'll be fantastic. So check us out next week, and yes, it'll be during the Eagles Cowboys game, so we'll be kind of sidetracked watching that at the same time, but that just makes it more fun. And again, make sure you check out, if you are a big fan of Western Pennsylvania high school football, Ian is all over it and doing a lot of podcast appearances and stuff for that, so check that out as well. And continue to check the website. We are getting really, really close to 500 subscribers here, and we would love to get there. I think at the start of the show, we were about 482, something like that. So would love to get to 500. So pass the word along, and more the merrier. Okay.
You're nothing without the chat. So
that's right. We are not. I never dreamed years ago when we were just doing this on a tape delay basis that this would turn into such fun and frivolity and everything else. So big thanks to everybody in the chat as always. All right.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Thanks for joining us.
We're going to get on out of here. Have a great night. Enjoy the college football this weekend, because the big boys get going in a week from tonight. All right. We're out of here. As always, go Steelers.
Oh, Ravens suck, I guess.
Yeah, there we go.
Ben's not here. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Ben sucks too.
Ben's face down in the gorge right now.
We've had some drinks.